Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. And this is going to be the start of kind of an off series. What I wanted to do was, now that I have proper gear on the EU server, it affords me the flexibility to change power sets more frequently. Something that I can do just if I want to test out a power, or if I want to try the damage of another power. Specifically with controller power sets right now, because I still have to deal with controlling as an off roll. But it allows me, because the controller power sets are my most outdated ones, if you could say that. I know they've already had 2 rounds of updated in-depth guides, but it's been what, 8 or 9 months now. So there are some inconsistencies and some outdatedness. So I could definitely afford to go to like Quantum Munitions Gadgets Light again and bring you some updated rotations. So this one's going to be more of a condensed video. So I'm not going to be showing precision because this is a might update. So if you're looking for precision, precision really hasn't changed. It's still dual flurry shot with like lift clipped with the PI for Grim, because then you get the PI dots from lift. Melee is going to be, I don't know, something cancel with Dervish or Vortex Trap, or like like precision's not even so much quantum. It's more like movement powers anyway. And insert like one-handed flurry or insert brawling haymaker. So there really is no specific quantum prec or quantum single target prec or quantum range prec. So I'm just going to disregard that. The controlling side, once again, controlling hasn't changed at all. The only thing that changes with controlling is like artifacts, and then artifacts dictate your loadout. So, I've got multiple quantum controlling videos on my channel. Even in the 2 previous updated guides, nothing changes. So what will change is I'll be showing the melee, single target, and range rotations for might, specifically. So, and before I get like 500 comments in the comment section about it, yes, I am still doing Celestial. The issue is that with Celestial, I have to go on the test server. I have to spend hours parsing. I have to find something that works with Celestial Prec as well, because I have to show that because it's the updated in-depth guide. So I can't afford to do that right now or presently, because I've got an entire DLC to farm. So that will be coming. Same with Earth. I'm on the EU server right now. I'm on the US side, so those are coming. It's just that these ones I can bring you more up to date and more frequently. So I can do quantum. I could do munitions within like a few days. I just have to switch back to it, kind of thing. And I could do mental easily, stuff like that. So we'll just kind of get into it here and show you guys the update to quantum. Okay, so in terms of quantum specs, it's going to be pretty much the exact same on how you're used to. So weapons, it's still going to be whatever you're most convenient with. I like one-hand because quantum, because it's a melee focused build, or at least you're melee focused on your melee rotation. You do want a weapon that's got fast lunge to be able to get to the next step ad groups. And then you don't need anything else besides that. Super speed, I take the power resist resistance just because I have enough skill points to do so. It's not 100% required whatsoever, but what is required is Whirling Dervish, so you 100% have to spec down to that. And if you could take speed drain if you want as well. I don't use the movement mode power supercharges. I'll get to why I don't in a moment, but you can certainly spec that. On component powers, you're going to want to take Heat Vision, Robot Psychic, new Venom Boost. This is you don't need super strength. This is just a carryover from my tip video that I did a little bit ago. I just haven't bothered respecing yet, so you don't need super strength. Don't worry about taking that. And other than that, super powered, critical attack chance, critical attack damage, everything to might and power. And just because this is an elite focus build, well, it works in regular obviously as well, but in elite I'd rather have all the health I can get, especially with these ads hitting like trucks. So I put everything else into health. You could put some in prec if you want, but it's just going to be for weapon taps regardless. But I'd much rather take the extra survivability. So in terms of a melee loadout, we're going to be using Whirling Dervish. And the important thing to remember is that we will be using dashing combos. And with that, you're going to be using Soul Amplifier, Transformation Card, and Granorum. The reason why you need the Granorum for Quantum is because of the PI applicator for Graviton Charge. So with Quantum, the biggest drawback to Quantum is that we have Gravity Well and we're Singularity. These are the 2 powers that apply Graviton Charge, and they're really weak damage. Graviton, obviously Gravity Well, 12-second dot, 12-second cooldown. Not very practical when it comes to like alerts or solos or open world or even older raids. Singularity is a weak damage power. It's just that if you don't have Grim, this is your only choice. But it's basically don't use it. So you do need the Grim, but the reason why that works out is you don't need the strategist at all. Quantum is like purely burst. The only dots are the lift dots, which is the PI dots. There's no other dots that Quantum has. Gravity Well obviously has some dots. Singularity has like a tiny bit of dots. Anomaly has some like a tiny little bit of dots, but there's nothing of consequence that you need the strategist for that's going to proc. Think of Quantum like Atomic, where it's all burst damage. The only dots you'll have are like on the like range rotation with like heat vision and stuff like that, like Warp Barrage, which I'll get to later on in that when I cover the range. But that's why you're always going to have the Grim, you're always going to have the Transformation, and you're always going to have Soul Amplifier. In terms of everything else, Oblivion Head mod, Neck mod, Escalating Might, Back mod, Accelerated Cure Wave, Chest mod, Extended Supercharge. Like mod doesn't matter, nothing scales, max damage in the hands, nothing out of the ordinary, and then obviously the Affinity mod bonuses are going to be Might. So getting back to the loadout, we have Whirling Dervish, we have Lift, a Cure Wave, Distortion Wave, Robot Psychic, which I canceled, and then Oblivion. So with Oblivion, the reason why I don't use... So technically, you'll find people use the Moot Mode Supercharges because it's 2,500 power cost. You can use them consistently every 30 seconds. So yes, your overall top damage will come from a Moot Mode Supercharge because you get to use it more frequently and more reliably throughout the entire raid. But with Oblivion, you have to think about it is that you're doing damage to basically negate other people's damage. So basically, think of like when Fractured Godfear starts, and there's like that first set of adds, the tanks pulling them together. You drop a supply drop in Oblivion, that pretty much deletes those adds. So now you are like 1 million, 1.5 million ahead, and the other DPS are at 0. If you just popped a speed drain, it's going to be like slowly ticking dots, and they're still doing damage. The Nature Wolf is still transforming into getting crits. The Rage DPS is hitting Berserk. So you use Oblivion as the counter to those DPS. If there's like a big pile of adds, you're dropping Supply Drop, Orbital, and Oblivion. And by the time that's done, those pile of adds are either half health or dead. So basically, you have to think of using a 10,000 supercharge like Oblivion, which is dealing massive AoE damage, as a counter to other DPS. So you're only, not only are you getting like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million damage from Oblivion, but that's 1 to 3 million that the other DPS can't do. So the easy example for this is the way Munitions Big Gun used to work during the AM days. So everyone would just pop Big Gun on any kind of set of ads, boom. They'd like to see the ads go poof. They're sitting at 2 million, great. The way I used it and the way I was so successful with munitions when I was damage comping was that I would wait for the other DPS to drop their Orbital Strike, then I would poof the ads. So I got my Big Gun, I got my millions of damage, but they had to waste an Orbital Strike to try to deal damage on the ads because I took that away from them. So that's damage that they're not doing, and then I still have my Orbital Strike. So I got a free 100, 200, 500k damage from my Orbital Strike, but theirs is on cooldown because I took away all their damage from using Big Gun. So it's just, you have to think of using a large supercharge like this as a counter. So yeah, you can hear other people saying, "Oh, it's a damage loss to use Oblivion, use like Speed Drain or something, or like a lesser supercharge." Technically, you'll have total overall damage. Like if you want to deal the numbers, yes, because you're using it more often. But Oblivion, you're basically subtracting away other DPS that damage that they can do. But that's my thought process behind it. So we'll kind of get you in and show the rotation. Okay, so you get the idea there. It's still frustrating. Like, they fix the power back on the sparring targets, but then they don't fix the DOMs so that the sparring targets go all over the place. Like, Cure Wave warps them forward. Dashing combo spreads them apart. Like, it becomes a mess. So I'm missing some damage there because dashing combos is not hitting. So you should be hovering like right in the 90s. So it's like 82, 90, 79 because I'm missing stuff. That's why. 84, 87, 80, 97. So you're looking at reasonable crit percentages too, like all in the mid to high 30s, low 20s. So what you have to remember with that rotation is that you have dodging combos, which cancels Dervish. So basically Dervish, tap melee, you move forward. Unfortunately, that is a very tight cone. It's not really a problem at all in raids because obviously you're right there in the ads with the tank pulling them. The sparring targets, you're hitting like one or two of them because they're floating around all the time. So like Dervish, a lot of people just weapon tap cancel. That's what they're used to, but use dashing combos to cancel it because it's might damage. Let's see if I can kind of explain it, show it here. So that's all Dervish. And you saw that little like 8k hit, but it can crit, and it's AoE as well. I'm not sure if I can show it better here. Yeah, 13, 13, so it is very nice damage considering that it's just a foot mod. But the other thing you have to be mindful as well is that I am super speed. So before you say, you know, what if I'm flight, what if I'm skimming, what if I'm acrobat, this guide series is meant to show you the best rotations. All these rotations I've tested in Elite against like nature DPS, rage, munitions, and then be able to like hold my own against them. So it is successful in Elite. Flight, skimming, acro will not be successful because they are subpar when it comes to damage in terms of movement modes. So if you're one of those movement modes, I mean, go to my older guides. I'm sorry, but you're missing massive damage by not being super speed. So if you care about your damage, then you're going to be super speed. If you want to be acro or fly around or hover on a hoverboard, then that's your prerogative. That's obviously it's a game, a superhero game, so that fits your cosplay. But in terms of damage, you can pretty much sub in and do whatever because you're not going to be doing the top tier damage without Whirling Dervish, unfortunately, for Quantum. So that's the melee rotation. Let's get in and show you the single target. Okay, so in terms of single target, the spec is the exact same. Rotation is going to be amplified heat vision, gravitonic field, lift, energy expulsion, and robot psychic, and oblivion. So you'll notice that I'm not using time bomb in my rotations. Time bomb has kind of gone the way of the dodo bird in terms of quantum. It's just not viable, not practical anymore. It's slow. The cap damage still is very low. I think when I maxed on like a nitro and a compound, I was still only hitting like 34k with time bomb, which is not realistic because we have the transformation card. And with all the crits coming from the transformation card, there's plenty of normal abilities that we have that'll hit more for Time Bomb. If Time Bomb could crit, or if it was a higher cap, then yeah, that'd be a different story. But Time Bomb is just not practical whatsoever anymore. Artifacts have kind of made that extinct. So if you didn't have any artifacts, then yeah, Time Bomb build would more than likely still be the best. But now that we have the transformation card changing those critical values, a power that can't crit, like a rotation designed around a power that can't crit, that you don't clip with, that is slow and is a delayed damage, is just not viable. So that brings us to this one. What you have to remember with this rotation is that it's more single target focused. So the only AoE damage is coming from the heat vision dots and the explosion and the lift dots from the PI. Gravitonic field is single target, energy expulsion is single target, the lift single hit is single target, and obviously the heat vision channel beam is single target. So in a fight with not many adds, this will do very, very well. Like for example, in the Elite Raid, I can still do very well in single target because of the lift dots are very strong, the heat vision dots are very strong, and the explosion is very strong on heat vision. And you have Oblivion too, so Oblivion is making up that AoE damage. So I can lose out to some of the top tier DPS in Grail Elite because of all the consistent ads, like the ads coming on 20, 40, 60, 80 health. So yeah, there's a lot of ad sets, and if I can't use Oblivion or if I don't have it on ability, then yeah, it could be a damage loss. But on Zeus, I make up all that damage, because Zeus is, yeah, there are some ads on Zeus, but they happen much more infrequently, and Zeus has much higher health. So on a purely single target, like say the Clock Tower Elite, this would do very well on Oracle Bot. Because you just have those drones at the end, and I'll have that AoE damage from lift and heat vision. But it's a very, very good single target focus loadout for Oblivion. For Quantum. So let's get in and show you the rotation. Okay, so you get the gist there. Where did I start it? So 38 was just that first part because Grim wasn't out, nothing else was ticking. So then we jumped up to a 58, 50, 42, 48, 46, 41, 48, 47, and then I stopped on the 39, which obviously you can tell from the 16% grit. So everything else is kind of in the 30s. So very capable, and as well, this doesn't even account for, say if there's like one other target or something like that, then this doesn't count for the lift dots, because obviously dots are going to take on single target, but as you can see, that lift maximum hit being in the 50s each time. So lift is very similar to Tornado Pull, very quick animation, you get PI dots, and obviously it hits like a truck, and then the gravitonic field will hit for like 20k dots, it takes 3 times, so very, very accomplished single target loadout as well. That is very competitive in this elite environment. Okay, so this brings us to Quantum Ranged. I don't really use this at all in this DLC, but I still felt that the need to make a ranged locate, just because your experience might differ. You may want to play it safer in elite. I use the melee rotation, the single target rotation in the elite, in the raid, in normal, regular, open world, alert, solo. It's kind of like a one size fits all between those two. But if you want to be ranged, I'll show you it here. Unfortunately, it does. Heat vision is going to be on every single ranged rotation for Might until they fix Soul Amplifier. Until Batuba adjusts Soul Amplifier because of the non-splitting damage, you're always going to have heat vision in there because of how powerful it is. You just can't do anything when you have non-splitting damage for like 20-30k hits on multiple targets. Like there's just nothing that can compete with that, and it sets up burning dots. So you're always going to have heat vision, unfortunately, which is why Soul Amplifier, if you're Might DPS, is like the absolute 100% must-have artifact. Other than that, we've got Distortion Wave, Time Shift. So basically, Distortion Wave is that multiple hit attack. You don't really necessarily need the PI. The PI helps a little bit, but it's not required. It does just as good enough damage without the PI. Time shift sets up the PI for Warp Barrage, and then the only change is that I'm running Strategist. So you don't need Grim because I'm not using the Graviton Charge PI at all. This one, it works better off the Strategist card because I'm getting the dots from Heat Vision. I'm getting the dots from Warp Barrage, so having those Strategist procs is handy, especially for AoE damage. And like the ticks on Oblivion and stuff like that. So that's the only change to this build. So Solar, Transformation, and Grim is 100% for single and melee. And the only change is Strategist card for AoE ranged. That's the only change. Because just Grim is just, it's not practical. I'd get more damage using the Strategist card than I would the Grim in this situation. So let's show you guys the rotation here. Okay, you guys get the idea there. Consistent, like well over 1 million parsers. What was that? 102, 119, 101, 103, 104, 111. Dip below there. Why did I dip below? Number of hits, probably? No. Crits? I don't know. But, I mean, that's almost a mil there anyway. Hits counts were fine. And then 1.1, 109. So you may say to yourself, "Oh, Obsidian, if that's rotations easily over 1 million and your your melee one was like in the 80s to 90s, why don't you just use ranged?" That melee rotation does a lot more damage in content if you're using it properly. The distortion wave is 360 degrees. A cure wave will hit targets behind you. And then Whirling Dervish is 360 degree AoE. So it's just something that you have to, like, you'll see in the footage anyway, but it does do a lot more damage than this range rotation. It's just you have to be in content, basically, where this range rotation, you're just sitting there doing, you're doing nothing. So obviously this is the much safer rotation. Obviously it hits like a truck. But I mean, some of that's heat vision, but Quantum is just a good range power as well. Not as good as like electric or munitions, but Quantum is right up there as one of the best range AoE power sets, and Quantum in general is one of the best power sets for Elite because you got a good mix of single target, melee, and ranged, as well as it's a good controller power. So it's a very, very good power for Elite because it's got a balance of everything.